everyone, and welcome to the Holistic Transformation Podcast from the Dancing Bear Enlightenment Academy. Today, our guest speaker is Gavin Scott. He is an impact leader and coach. Today, he will talk to us about the attachment letting go. He is an inspirational leader and speaker, creating the opportunity for profound awakening. He speaks his truth and completely changes outcomes for listeners. Heart-centered vibrations create the frequency for a life of abundance with financial freedom and fulfilling relationships. Welcome, Gavin.
Thanks so much for having me on. It's a privilege to be here.
Well, we're very happy to have you. So how did you get started with letting go and attachments? And you have a podcast as well. So tell us about yourself.
So it all started back in a winter's day in October 1978.
A long time ago.
A baby was born.
Oh, we don't need that much detail.
Sorry, you'll have to forgive my jovial ways. What's really quite interesting is I've had several awakenings throughout my own life. Mm-hmm. And due to the programming, the conditioning, the paradigms, the attachments, I fell back into a less spiritual path. Mm-hmm. And whether you want to call a spiritual path related to God, universal energy, religion, however you so see it, we are spiritual beings, and therefore we are meant to be on a spiritual path. There is no question about that.
Yeah.
So I had an awakening recently back in probably September-ish in 2020. I'd kind of been living the life as most people deem it. You know, I'd been based out in Malaysia for 3 years, playing lots of golf, traveling around Southeast Asia, meeting lots of nice ladies, you know, just kind of having a great and wild time. And what people didn't realize was, and what I didn't realize was that under the surface, I wasn't happy. So this all comes from 2017, 2018, when my investors took my company away from me and bankrupted me. So though what they did wasn't illegal, it was extremely immoral. And they took everything away from me. So I guess the kind of playboy lifestyle was to just hide the pain. And so, you know, wandering the world as a lost little lamb, I found myself in Spain. I decided early on it wasn't that early, it was the end of March in the pandemic 2020. I've been in China for business and everywhere in Asia I'd been during the very beginning of the pandemic. And at the end of March, I decided, you know, before it was too late, I wanted to go spend some time with my family whilst the world was closing down. So I flew back to London. I had a lockdown there. And then the weather's not so great in the UK. So I came to Spain to play golf. And I never left. And so it was during the second lockdown in Spain that I had this awakening, because I was trying to make things happen in the external world. Mm-hmm. Emails, calls, posts, connections, didn't matter what it was, nothing was happening. And so I thought to myself, well, this really is, I don't know, quite scary. I can't affect the outside world. Well, let's affect the inside world, ready for when the outside world is also ready.
Yeah.
So I went deep inside and I took every course there was, by every guru, every summit, every webinar, every workshop, every masterclass. I mean, that's what my life was. It was consuming new ideas, new programs, new conditioning. And I just, as much as I could, deleted the old stuff or stored it on an external hard drive, uploaded the new software, and boom, there was my awakening. And so that's kind of how it all got started.
Wow. And so what did you learn from that?
I learned, well, that's a loaded question. I learned so many things. For the listeners, let's try and keep this short and precise. I learned that life was easier to flow through with harmony if I let go.
It's true. Yeah.
Absolutely true. No one can deny it. And so I started to study the idea of letting go, and I ran into the idea of attachment. And I thought, a paradigm is an attachment in our logical, rational brain.
Mm-hmm.
And so what if I let go of that attachment?
Mm-hmm.
Everything in life is attachment. If you really want to take it to the bare bone, you've got molecules, they're attached, energy, oxygen, water, vibration. Our bodies are put together from attached, molecules. So you can really go deep with the idea of attachment. And that's probably the biggest thing I learned. For myself, I need to be in the right environment for me. So I'm a sun child. I need to be in the sun. I don't like living in cities. If I do live in cities, that's when I tend to lose my connection with my own spiritual path. I very much become a rat on the wheel in the rat race. And that's not how I best serve humanity.
I think that's true of most people. I think the cities just gobble people up. But I really liked what you said, let go of attachments of paradigms, because that's what really blocks people. You literally can't see beyond your paradigm. And to let go of that really opens you up to a whole different perspective. That's really, I like that. I've never heard that before. That's a good one.
We can also talk about attachment being emotional ideas. So I remember back in February of this year, I'd met this lady and I was pining for her.
Oh,
she wasn't pining for me.
Yeah, that happens.
And I got myself into an emotional state. Now, we do have to accept that as humans, we are emotional beings, and that's perfectly okay.
Yeah.
But it would have been a lot easier if I could have turned around and gone, you know what? This is an emotion. It's okay to feel it, but let it go. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to, or I didn't do that. But through our experiences and our practices, we raise our awareness, and I'm hoping to do better next time on that specific example.
Wow. So you're now a coach helping people. Tell us how you work with people. How do you help them?
The best way really is just through conversation. I've got programs, I've got courses, and they do help people. Of course they do. They were designed to do that. But the best feedback I get is when I have conversations with people. So this lady wrote into me last week, and I'm still smiling from it. I will just try and find what she says because I don't want to ruin her words. She says, I just had a wonderful realization that God sends me guides through people, and you are one of them. Thank you.
That is so true. Yeah.
So, you know, when you get that kind of powerful feedback, you've got to have done something right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And in her case, she was suffering from chronic anxiety. Now, it's not an instant fix with chronic anxiety because, you know, through our first conversation, you kind of walked away and thought, okay, I did help her, you know, see something and hopefully she'll change. But along with the programming and the conditioning, you know, it keeps coming back. She has to keep practicing. And it really depends on the person's individual will to practice,
Mm-hmm.
how quickly they can release themselves, detach themselves, or let go from a state of chronic anxiety. But I'm not one of these coaches that'll just sit there and listen for the hour and charge you. You know, if I've got something to say, I'll say it. And quite often people are like, oh, I didn't consider that, or oh, I never thought of that, or wow, that's very insightful. You know, so through seeing these things from a different perspective, you can really change your way of thinking. And when you do that, you change the way which you react to certain things. So change your thoughts, change your feelings, change your outcomes.
Yeah, anytime you hear the word chronic, you know that it's a multifaceted issue. And it's not one answer that's going to solve the problem. You've got to approach it from different angles, because every time you're in a new situation, it'll crop up in a different way. So yeah, it's something that you're not going to heal in one session with somebody. That's very true. So you also said that you help people have a life of abundance, financial freedom, and fulfilling relationships. Is that also part of the same process, or do you have a separate process for that?
I mean, it's all part of the same process, really. You know, you can go on the courses or the programs, or you can have conversations with me. People often like the conversations because they get my interaction and immediate feedback.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, ultimately it comes down to the same thing. What is programming? What is conditioning? What are paradigms? And if you look at it as a weed, weeds grow out of the earth and sprout a leaf or whatever. And people will often deal with what they thought was the issue, the programming and conditioning, except what they've done is they've either cut the leaf off at the top, they've cut the weed half, or they've cut the weed right at the bottom where the ground is. Now, even when you cut that low in the stem of the weed, you are leaving the seed deep beneath the surface. Mm-hmm. So until you remove the seed, these programs and conditionings will keep coming up.
Yeah.
And so there's also another element of why. Why are you having a conversation with me? How much do you want to change? Like, I can't do the work for other people.
Right.
So you've got to be willing to be open, and you've got to be willing to go deep.
That's true. As an acupuncturist, I have the same issue. People come in and they want a pill to fix them. And usually it's what you eat and your lifestyle, and I can't fix that for you. You have to fix that. That is so true, especially with feelings, like you were saying with your obsession with the female. The only person that can help you with that is you. You have to deal with it.
Yeah, so I did what I did what most men would do eventually when I woke up, which was go and find another girl. I did not get to the seed of that problem, but I cut it off at the root.
Uh-oh. So you
Yeah.
also help organizations. So how do you do what is that where you use your courses and things is with organizations?
So generally, I will go in and do sales training.
Okay.
And when we do sales training, there's a lot of mindset stuff involved.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a lot of leadership stuff involved. So I run through various practical tools and exercises, i.e., the framework of the program, and really try and make it a world of collaboration, not competition. Create a healthy environment for which people can flourish in, as opposed to an environment where people are looked down upon for trying to, be different and grow and help the organ. I mean, it's so backwards in today's organizations. It really is. There's a lot also of unmotivated people in organizations. So how do you help motivate the workforce? How do you help the organization retain, their best staff? These are all questions that need to be answered by the organizations, and generally they don't do it themselves. So they bring in people like me.
Yeah, I haven't been in an organization in decades. I remember how
I
they
believe
were.
you're in one now.
I am.
The Dancing Bear Enlightenment Academy.
Oh, yeah, but it's just me and my students.
But it's your organization.
Oh, well, that's true. And you're right. I have to motivate myself and I have to keep going and be the leader. Yeah, you're absolutely right. um, but I don't have to put up with someone else telling me what to do.
Yeah, so you see, that's immediately such a big frequency to pick up on. And so many people in the organization or in the workplace are not willing to stand up and say, I'm being treated in this way, or rather, there is this culture here. They just stay quiet. And so, with some of my tools, I help them bring that out whilst maintaining confidentiality. So you do some questionnaires and some polls and you get the responses back, but you don't finger point anybody. They're all kind of submitted anonymously.
Yeah, I think there's an implied threat if you tell your boss that they're doing something that you don't like, that they won't like me and then I won't get a raise or I'll get fired. Yeah.
Absolutely. I remember I got this call center job, and I went to work there for 3 days. And at the end of the 3 days, there were a couple of things that happened. One, I'd realized that this was not a legitimate operation. In other words, they were scammers.
Oh,
So
wow.
I was effectively trying to sell for scams. So that was the first thing that made me really unnerving. The second thing that happened was, after going home on the third night, there was a message in the company WhatsApp group, and it was without a doubt racist. And so I worked the Wednesday, the Thursday, and the Friday. The Saturday morning, I sent my boss, so the boss of that office, they had 5 or 6 offices, a WhatsApp message saying, I'm not going to say anything about this in the group because I'm new here, but as my line manager, I'm telling you that this is not acceptable. And he was, okay, thank you for notifying me. So then Monday morning came, and on the Sunday, they'd put in the WhatsApp group that there was this really big sales training that we were going to do Monday morning before getting back on the phones. So I woke up that day just feeling bad, like really bad. And I sent my boss a message, and he was like, look, just come in for the morning, and if you still feel bad at lunch, you can go home. So I said, okay, no problem, I'll do it, whatever. And I was halfway to the train station, and I was kind of like using walls to hold me up. And I was just like, this isn't right. I got to go home. So I went home and I laid down and fell asleep. And about midday, I got a message from my boss saying, the owners of the company have decided to no longer continue with your employment. And I was like, okay, well, I did miss a sales thing, but actually this is to do with the fact that I am of concern to them because I'm pointing out legitimate concerns.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's a direct threat. Absolutely.
They wanted you to come in so they could give you your payoff check.
Yeah. Well, after 3 days, it was a huge payoff check. Yeah.
Well, sometimes they want you to sign a form and non-disclosure and all kinds of stuff.
I mean, after 3 days, just whatever, it wasn't worth it. I mean, even if I somehow magically got that office shut down, they'd open up another one somewhere else,
Wow. That happened to me once. I was at a company, so I know what it's like. And I almost quit the first week, but I decided it would look bad on my resume. Back then, you didn't job hump. Today, it doesn't matter if you job hop. So I stayed 1 year and then left.
Wow, that was a long time to stay. I wonder what else you would have done with that year.
Well, I made a big difference, though, because the system that I implemented, they were doing $1 million prior period off the book adjustments. Now, if you know finances, you know what I just said. Don't know finances, it means that they were making adjustments to their finances to making themselves look good. This one division was. And the company couldn't figure out why nothing was balancing. And I redid their entire GL system and I printed it out, and I took it into the controller. He says, what's that? And I said, that's your entire GL. They were never recalculating prior periods. I recalculated everything. And it exposed, first they wanted to fire me. And then my boss said, no, wait, we need to look at this. And that's when they found out that people were making prior period adjustments, and some pretty high level people lost their job.
I mean,
it exposed the corruption.
Yeah. Well, we just had the whole FTX thing with the crypto go down,
Oh.
I don't know how many billion that was, but, it does happen,
There's a lot of corrupt people out there.
Yeah, they might not have started corrupt, but they become corrupt through greed, and that's power and greed, I guess.
Power hungry. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's what was it? There was a socialite. I should look up her name. She said you can never be too thin or too rich. She died at age 54 because you can be too thin. You need to be healthy. but money is one of those things. At some point, you have to say, this is enough. I have enough. I have enough stuff. I have enough money. Because if you can't ever say that, you can never be satisfied. And you'll always want more.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, of course, I've got my financial freedom amount like everybody does, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, I want, that's a bad term. I would be grateful.
There you go.
For more money so that I could do good things with it.
I hear that.
Create non-for-profit organizations,
Mhm.
create foundations, still helping and serving people.
Mhm. I agree
Otherwise,
with that.
what do you need all the money in the world for?
You don't.
You
You
don't.
only need enough, enough to be healthy, have a roof over your head, yeah, food on the table. And there's a lot of people that don't have that, especially right now in England. I'm grateful that I have heat in my house. There's people that don't even have heat.
Yeah. You're a very practiced meditation
Mhm.
person, so you will know what Vipassana is.
Yes.
And so I was going to refer to Vipassana as, if you can find peace during your Vipassana and be happy, then you'll realize just how little you need to be happy.
Well, sometimes I think I should just go live in the wild. And then I go, no, I wouldn't be completely happy because I get cold and I don't want to be exposed at night. So I'm happy with the house and, a roof
Well,
over my head.
all you have to do is get yourself a fur coat like a bear. Then you could live in the wild.
There you go. Except when it's raining or snowing.
Oh, then you just go in the cave.
Oh, then you go in the cave. Yeah, with all the spiders and the snakes.
Yeah, and you eat those for breakfast.
There you go. No, I don't eat spiders. I like spiders.
Yeah, spiders are cool.
There you go. So for our audience, you have a free gift. Stay outstanding. So, oh no, that's your business. Wait a minute. 30-minute free consultation. So tell us about your free consultation. What's that about?
Well, my work started with mindset, and my podcast is all about mindset. And so, really, for anyone struggling to understand what we mean about the spiritual path, for anyone struggling with their own mental health because their boss is pressurizing them, and there's pressure at home and they can't share with their usual support systems, just think of me as an additional support system. Just come and have a private and confidential chat, and
Nice.
that's it.
Cool. So for those of you on YouTube, the link will be down below. So if you're listening to the podcast, I'm going to tell you the link. It's Calendly, CALENDLY.com. That's a calendar system, / stay outstanding podcast / freedom. No, free consultation. So it's calendly.com / stay outstanding podcast / free consultation. So that's not too hard to remember.
And if you pause it and write it down after a couple of slashes, you'll get there.
Stay outstanding, free consultation. That sounds pretty good. And your podcast is that on YouTube also, or is that where
I'm
is that?
trying to get it up on YouTube. I am way behind. I've got about 115 episodes published. I think there's about 4 or 5 on YouTube. But I'm on all the usual podcast platforms: Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Music, Anchor. Anywhere you go to find podcasts, you'll find Stay Outstanding.
Nice. Cool. So do you have any closing words for our audience?
I mean, you've got to choose your words wisely, because I could talk for another half an hour with my closing words, but I'm not going to. What I will say is stay the course. So there's actually an solo episode that I did on Stay Outstanding. So maybe if you're listening, go and listen to that afterwards. But what does it mean to stay the course? It means don't give up. Don't allow your frustration to stop you from getting where you want to go. So if it's financial freedom, if it's fulfilling relationships, if it's letting go of chronic anxiety, if it's changing your conditioning, if it's uploading new programming, people like myself and Dr. Lawrence, we've been doing this for years and we're still practicing at it, guys. And there are days that we win and there are days that we don't. There are hours that we win and there are hours that we don't. But the difference between us and the others is that we are committed to our practice. And without failure, every single day we acknowledge our practice and do it. So when you find yourself stuck and you want to quit, don't, because your very next move could lead you just where you want to go. And I will end by saying, if you don't know how to do any of that, then find somebody that you can relate to, that you resonate with, that you think you can build a relationship with of trust and confidence, and learn from them. Learn from them. So go out there and get yourself, I recommend 1 mentor and 2 coaches, but start with 1, see how you get on.
Very wise words and very true. Well, thank you for being our guest, Gavin. And we thank you all for listening. And if you would consider subscribing, we would appreciate it very much. And remember to be the light you want to see in the world.